guys, it's me, Courtney, and we are about to do another chart breakdown. Um, I'm basically just kind of updating what I talked about in my last chart up breakdown and showing you guys what ended up happening. And then we'll talk a little bit about what to expect for this upcoming week. NFP week is coming up soon, but it is on a different day this upcoming week. So NFP is actually going to be on Thursday this week instead of Friday. So, today, right now, it is Saturday, June 27th. Monday is going to be the 29th. So, the week of June 29th through July 3rd is NFP week. But NFP will be on the 2nd instead of the 3rd. So I just wanted to kind of notify you guys of that before we hopped in. So next week is going to be a volatile week just because of the news that's coming out. Um, Also just letting you guys know this is my more chill videos, so I won't be editing. There's a lot of background noise going on right now, so hopefully my mic isn't picking up on that. But I wanted to make sure I still came and gave you guys a quick video to kind of update what we talked about for last week. So last week's video, I was expecting a pullback at this date that I had a sell bias, and I thought price could pull or push down a little bit more. But overall, I was waiting on a pullback and kind of getting a counter trend trade. So when we talked last week, price was like in this area. I was stating that price could sell down to the zero. At the time, that was 13,525, or down to this zone and then start to push up. And that's actually what ended up happening. So, like I said, I wasn't making any moves until I got a break of my trend line. So until I got that alert, I wasn't looking at the chart. So early in the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I really didn't trade. And I also really didn't trade because I was traveling. So I didn't really place any much trades. But on Wednesday is actually when that trend line broke. And Wednesdays actually happened to be the day that I came back home from visiting my mom. So once I got back home, I saw the trend line break. I actually went ahead and got an entry. I put my stop loss below the last low, and I just kind of let the market do its thing. Price did pull back, but it just came back and retested the zone. So once I saw price respecting the zone and bouncing up, that's where I got a second entry on this trade, and then price did push up to my overall first target. I actually had three targets for this trade overall. This first zone was my first target. The second zone was my second target. And this zone up here was my overall target. So that's where I was targeting for these trades for my pullback. Again, I didn't know how far price was going to pull back. So I was really taking things zone to zone. But that first trade played out good. I moved my stop loss to break even for the remainder that I was holding for these entries. And I started to look for my next entry. So I was thinking if price breaks above the zone, then I can get another entry. It would be breaking above a previous high and kind of confirming that buying market structure. So price created a higher low, and then breaking above this high would be creating a higher high. This one I actually ended up setting as a buy stop. So I didn't enter this one, market X. Um, Basically, like, this is Thursday evening. So this was Wednesday afternoon. Um, and then this was Thursday morning that this trade happened. So Thursday evening, I set my buy stop and kind of went to sleep. And then activated while I was sleeping on Friday. So this is Friday at 3 a.m. So that's when the trade activated. And then Friday morning, I also placed another buy. Again, I was just targeting to that next zone. Um, so yeah, those are basically all the entries I took. So I took four entries. Um, I ended up closing most of my positions at this area. This 14,288 was one of my take profit levels. And then once I saw price kind of crossing back below this major zone, almost like respecting that zone, I went ahead and exited all of my buy positions. So I think overall I caught about like 60 pips. Uh, it went like 77 in profit, but I closed about 60 pips in profit with the trades that I was still holding from down here. Um, so yeah, I had ended up having a good trading week, a slow trading week because I didn't trade till the end of the week. But about like 60 pips overall caught, so I wasn't mad at it. And then I had these minor trend lines here to let me know, like, okay, maybe it's time to slow down with the buying if these trend line breaks. So we can see we had a minor trend line break and retest here. So that was also a signal to me that okay, it's time to close these trades. And there was also some bearish divergence happening here as well. So those were the trades that I took last week. Hopefully the breakdown of those made sense, but I just waited for that trend line break. We already had a lot of bullish divergence going. So once I got that trend line break, I got in. This just was confirmation, and then as price was making higher highs and higher lows, I looked for another or other opportunities for entry. So that was last week. So now let's talk about this week. I'm gonna switch to my cleaner chart so we can, have a little less noise and talk about it. So for this week, remember overall from the higher time frame, we did have more of a sell bias. Price is moving in selling market structure on the higher time frame. So the question really is how far is price going to pull back? Is this as far as price is going to pull back before we start continuing to the downside, or are we going to see a deeper retracement? Overall, I was targeting this was the same zone on the other chart, but thinking price would come back and kind of retest that consolidation zone it was in before it broke out. Um, but who's to say how far price is going to pull back? So let me talk about basically what I'm looking for this upcoming week. And I didn't pre-mark this up, so I'm market or going through this live with you guys. Um, I do think we could see price pull back a little further, but I'm just gonna move off of how the market is moving currently. Um, so this is more of like a 30-minute, could almost be like 1 hour trend line. And I really want to see what price is going to do at this trend line at this zone area. If price ends up respecting the zone and starting to move to the upside, then I will see if price is going to retrace further. Um, I would like to wait for price to give me like another break of the previous high, so like above this zone, before I got in, just to confirm that we are still moving with this buying market structure. And why I say that is price could pull back and just retest this zone and then start to move to the downside. That's a possibility. All right, so basically, while price is in this zone, I'm not really looking to touch it because I want price to let me know what direction is moving before I get in. So I don't want to get caught up in any noise. So for me to get into buys, I want price to break above the high that it created on Friday. And then if I do see a break of that high, then I will look for another buy move to the next zone. And then I'll stop and wait there, see what price does. If price breaks that zone, then I know I'm going to that trend line. And again, waiting to see what price does. All right. So that's if price ends up moving to the upside, ends up respecting this trend line in this zone. Price can also move to the downside. So like we talked about, it could respect that zone, pull back a little bit, and then break through and do something of that nature. So what I am looking for is I want to see a break of this trend line, but I also want to see a break in structure. Let me drop down to them 30. So break in structure just means a break in this buying market structure. We have a low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. And this could be a higher low, right? So if price pulls back, this will be like the last low I'm looking for price to break. Um, I'm not sure what price is going to do. We even could consolidate in this area. But if I see a break in the trend line, break of the zone, then I could look for some sell opportunities. Um, I'm still going to take up my sells berries on the zone or make sure I'm paying attention to structure as well. So what I mean by that is the last lows that the market has made. So say this is like a low point. And you can say this is a low point as well. So if I see sell confirmation, right, I already have a divergence here happening here, right? So I have divergence. So I also would have a trendline break and a break of structure for the sell confirmations. But I would make sure where I set my targets would it be aligned with the structure. So I would definitely make sure to have a TV set here, just in case price comes here, kind of makes equal lows and then bounces up, right? And then I'll also make sure to have the target set here, just in case. Now, if those lows break, then that's how I know that, okay, we're really moving with the sell. And I'm really looking for a break of this 1 hour zone that was respected before I look for any sells lower. But for right now, if I get this trend line break of this zone, then my sell targets would look something similar. Basically just selling down to this zone again or this general area and then waiting to see what price does. If we respect the zone, we could continue going back to the upside. We could consolidate in this area. Is a lot that price could do. But because this upcoming week is NFP, I think NFP is really going to give us a strong push in either direction. But if I'm really waiting for the break of this zone before I say that price is going to sell down any lower, and then my target would be essentially like the next zone. I would definitely make sure to have a TP at this zero level on the 1 hour. So this 12,915. And then this bottom zone would be my overall target, right? So then it could be price just pulled back and then we continued with the sell, but we need to break of the last low to actually confirm that we are pushing down further. So I always make sure to take things step by step. Don't make any assumptions, or just don't assume that you know what the market is going to do. Always wait and let the market tell you what it's going to do. But essentially for this week, I want to see a breakout of this area to let me know what I'm going to be looking for this week. But overall, I still have my sell bias on the higher time frame. Um, the last kind of high on the 4 hour is at this 4 hour zone that's here. So it's close to the 114,746 area. Now, if that high happens to be broken, then I might change my tune about what I see on the higher time frame. But as long as that high isn't broken, I still see really strong selling market structure. I mean, even if the high is broken, I still see selling market structure really until this high is broken, then I would for sure be like, okay, we might be switching trends on the higher time frame. Um, but overall, higher time frame, I still see selling market structure. So we'll see if the beginning of this week we kind of pick up with that, or if we're going to continue to pull back a little further before continuing with the sales. Just make sure you have your trend lines drawn. Pay attention to your trend line breaks and your zone breaks, and also make sure you're watching out for divergence. Divergence just lets you know the momentum, right? It doesn't tell you when to get in or out of the market, but it does let you know when momentum might be slowing down and switching up. So those are the things I watch for. This is what I'm looking for this week. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments down below. I am recording other videos, so I'm hoping to have them posted throughout this week, probably into next week. So be on the lookout for those. There will be psychology focused videos. Um, Other than that, that's all I have for you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey guys.